Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 250,000 subscribers. Hoping to have been there by now. Not there yet, but soon. Thanks to you. So please hit the subscribe button, watch, and share with your friends because there's a lot going on and a lot for us to talk about, including this morning. So this morning, President Biden commuted 37 death sentences. And why is this important? I hear from so many people that say, what do you think? What do you think about it? I want to bring this into a much bigger picture of how our law enforcement, how Department of Justice is operating. And I want to begin by showing you an article. It's an article from the New York Times, and it says, Biden commutes 37 death sentences ahead of Trump's plan to resume federal executions. Those affected by the president's actions on Monday are still subject to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. 3 men will remain on federal death row. It goes on, President Biden on Monday commuted the sentences of nearly all prisoners on federal death row, sparing the lives of 37 men just a month before Donald J. Trump will return to the Oval Office with a promise to restart federal executions. Those affected by Mr. Biden's action, all of whom were convicted of murder, will serve life imprisonment without the possibility of parole instead of facing execution. Only 3 men who each carried out notorious mass killings will remain on federal death row. I am more convinced than ever that we must stop the use of the death penalty at the federal level, Mr. Biden said in a statement on Monday. In good conscience, I cannot sit back and let a new administration resume executions that I halted. The next line, Mr. Biden said that the commutations were consistent with the standard he has imposed for halting executions in cases other than terrorism and hate-motivated mass murder. Here's what he also said. Make no mistake, I condemn these murderers, grieve for the victims of their despicable acts, and ache for all the families who have suffered unimaginable and irreparable loss, Mr. Biden said. He goes on and he says afterwards that this just cannot happen right now, that he believes in a completely different methodology, something to which Trump has already said that he plans on reinstituting executions. In fact, at one point in time, Trump actually thought it might be a good idea to do these public executions so as to send a message to individuals. A lot of people reacted to that, some thinking that this is a great way within which to ensure that these sort of callous murders do not continue. Does anybody think that that would stop it? I don't really think so. It has nothing to do, of course, with gun legislation, with sensible gun legislation. Maybe a combination of both. I mean, maybe, again, if we could sit down and try to hammer something out in a bipartisan manner, maybe that would stop the mass murders that are constantly taking place every day. You turn on the television, every day you read the newspaper, and you talk about another shooting somewhere here in the United States. It's just terrible, especially when it deals with children. Now, I want to sort of talk about what I was saying about a bigger picture of our law enforcement. And this is something, again, I know quite a bit about because I was the subject of it. This morning, Luigi Mangione also pled not guilty. And this one took place in the New York courts. And I want to show you what Karen Friedman Agnifilo, his lawyer, had to say about it. Play the clip.
The second thing I want to make a record of, Your Honor, is I'm very concerned about my client's right to a fair trial in this case. He's being prejudiced by some statements that are being made by government officials. Like every other defendant, he is entitled to a presumption of innocence. But unfortunately, the way this has been handled so far, his rights are being violated. And as you know, Your Honor, there's a wealth of case law guaranteeing his right to a fair trial, but none of the safeguards have been put in place yet here. In fact, it's just the opposite of what's been happening. He's a young man. and he is being treated like a human ping pong ball between two warring jurisdictions here. These federal and state prosecutors are coordinating with one another, but at the expense of him. They have conflicting theories in their indictments, and they are literally treating him like he is like some sort of political fodder, like some sort of spectacle. He was on display for everyone to see in the biggest staged perp walk I've ever seen in my career. It was absolutely unnecessary. He's been cooperative with law enforcement. He had been in custody for over a week. He waived extradition. He was cooperative at all accounts. There was no reason for the NYPD and everybody to have these big assault rifles that, frankly, I had no idea it was in their arsenal. And to have all of the press there, the media there, it was like perfectly choreographed. And what was the New York City mayor doing at this press conference, Your Honor? That just made it utterly political. And as Your Honor knows, under Lauro v. Charles, the Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit has held it to be clearly established that these staged perp walks to the media, unrelated to a legitimate law enforcement objective, is unconstitutional. And I submit there was zero law enforcement objective to do that sort of perp walk. There's absolutely no need for that whatsoever. And frankly, Your Honor, the mayor should know more than anyone of the presumption of innocence that he too is afforded when he dealing with his own issues. And frankly, I submit that he was just trying to detract from those issues by making a spectacle of Mr. Mangione. And there are consequences to this. He has a right to a fair trial. And I just want to put on the record statements that the mayor made publicly about my client. Nothing saying alleged, for example. And he said, I wanted to send a strong message with the police commissioner that we're leading from the front. I'm not going to just allow him to come into our city. I wanted to look him in the eye and state, you carried out this terrorist act in my city, in the city of New York that I love. And he wanted to show symbolism. Your Honor, he's not a symbol. He's somebody who is afforded the right to a fair trial. He's innocent until proven guilty. And the mayor was talking to jurors, future potential jurors that elected him. Those are the people that elected him that he is talking to and calling this man a terrorist. So, Your Honor, I just want to make a record of this and put everyone on notice that this has to stop. And my client is entitled to a fair trial and the presumption of innocence. And we're going to fight these charges, whether it's in the state or federal, to the fullest extent. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Well,
Yeah, it's all about the grandstanding. And when I said that I know about this, remember that I was given 48 hours from a Friday at 5:30 p.m. to accept a guilty plea that coming Monday, or they were going to file an 80-page indictment that included my wife. First time I had ever heard from the Southern District, from the prosecutors. First time that you don't come in 48 hours. On Sunday night, there I was, preparing the night before to head the following morning at 8 a.m. to be down there by 9 a.m. And I get a phone call that says we need to push it off till Tuesday. It's like, okay, it's another 24-hour extra for me, but I was curious as to why. And the answer, because they weren't able to get their poster board ready in time. Imagine that shit. They weren't going to be able to hold their press conference without one of those standardized poster boards that shows all the crimes in order to make it look like it's one of these TV shows. Could you imagine? The grandstanding is despicable. Just as Karen Agnifilo said, I'll go one step further to say, I'm not so sure that what they did is going to inure to either the federal or the state charges. In fact, think about it this way. You have people now calling him Saint Luigi. They're making him into a martyr for all people against the corporate greed that's going on, especially in healthcare. Remember, this is a criminal trial. All you need is one holdout, one individual that says, I'm sorry, I just can't hold him guilty. And then what ends up happening? You have a mistrial. And they got to start the shit all over again. But then again, the more they keep parading him, the more that they keep putting him up onto a pedestal. And I'll go one more step. When Karen started talking about The mayor. I'm not sure why the mayor was there either. Everybody wants some form of attention for this. I mean, she's not wrong. I mean, this looked like a Taylor Swift coming out of her final Eras concert where she's, got all of her bodyguards and security all around her. She needs it. Why not just take him underground? Why not put him into the truck, bring him underground, and then they could take him upstairs for this? Instead, she's 100% right. They did not need to do this perp walk, especially if you noticed in that perp walk of Mangione, not only was he handcuffed, but he was shackled as well. I'm not really sure. I'm just shocked that they didn't put him on one of those gurneys there and strap him into it and then sort of, parade him through, maybe wearing a spit mask also. So far, the guy has done nothing but basically cooperate and look like he just doesn't give a shit. Never seen anything like this whole thing. Everybody's looking for their media time, and it's truly disgraceful. That's not what our DOJ is supposed to be about. And by them doing this, you know what they're doing? They're also playing into Trump's hands when he says that our DOJ is fucked up, that it needs to be completely taken apart and rebuilt because they don't act properly. He keeps calling it lawfare, which it's not. He keeps turning around and saying that everyone in the DOJ is corrupt. That's also not true. Unfortunately, you do have a lot of individuals that are using the DOJ, using their positions in order to figure out where they're going next, right? To one of these big, white glove firms where they're going to end up, charging $1,500, $2,000 an hour. That's what it's all about. It's the movement all for themselves. So they do not want to lose the opportunity on something as high profile as this. Just absolutely disgraceful. I remember it when it was me. I kind of feel bad for Mangione, not based on the facts, just on him. He does have a right to a fair trial, and there is a presumption of innocence if you so believe that. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.